Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Facebook Live. Hosted today by Pike, Smith and Kemp, company I work for, and also agents here to help. And I've been asked to talk a bit about if you're looking to sell your house, what you need to be focusing on. Just before I get to go on that, please like and share this video. If you are live, please send me any questions. Happy to answer them at the back end of this video. We're going to plan to do more as well, so let me know any subject matters that you'd like us to be doing. We would love to hear your feedback, so please let us know. So I'm going to talk a bit about planning to sell your home, and also run through a few other things. And I'm going to run through quite a lot of content very quickly. So if you've got any questions, as I said, just throw them my way. I'll try and answer them a bit later on if I can. And obviously, please let me know. Hi, Kevin. Good to have you on board, chap. So planning to sell, even in lovely COVID environment that we're currently in. I'll come on to COVID a bit later because I've got a few things I wanted to touch on in terms of what the market conditions are going to be like. But let me just talk a little bit about what you need to do if you're looking to sell soon. I mean, first things first, use this time when you're stuck at home to get your house ready to go onto the market. So that old cliche that the first 11 seconds when somebody comes to view your house is when they decide whether they're going to buy or not is absolutely bang on. So go outside your house today. If you're looking to sell, go outside today, go and stand on the pavement outside your home and look back at it and see your property through the eyes of a buyer. What do you need to do now while you're at home and you're able to do this, because you never normally have time to get these things done, to get your property ready to go to market? And a few tips from me. Obviously, the one that everybody always prattles on about, but it is very true: declutter. Make sure that you get rid of all of that stuff that's lying around. If you look at my study where I'm doing this from today, it's a mess. And if I was selling, I'd probably take bucket loads of stuff out of here to either dump or hide in the garage. You need to declutter when you're ready to sell. Secondly, you need to make sure that every room in your house is dressed for the purpose that it's meant for. So if you've got a bedroom, dress it as a bedroom, not as a gym, not as a study, not as a playroom, but as a bedroom, because that's really important. And don't forget the garden and the drive and all of those areas outside that need to be spot on for when you're selling. You don't need to make it like a show house, because people feel a bit uncomfortable actually when they come to view something. They want to be able to relate to being living there, but you do want it to look great. So use this time to start doing all of those jobs that you've been putting off, particularly those DIY jobs like leaky taps and all of that stuff. Sort it out now before you go to market. And some of the bigger improvements that it's worth thinking about is certainly decorating. Avoid those dark, bold colors unless you sometimes can get away with it in dining rooms and cloakrooms. But overall, you do need to keep to the neutral colors. It does work. You don't necessarily need to refit kitchens and bathrooms to sell, particularly if your time scale is pretty critical. But if you've got the time, it's worth making some cosmetic improvements. Otherwise, just think in the bathrooms of things like tiling and flooring. All of those things are really important to be spot on. And have a look at your competition in the rough price range that you're looking to sell in. What do they look like? What are you up against? What are the things that people are going to be looking at when they're looking at the competition that you're on the market with? And, if you look at, for example, I was talking to a client this morning. They've got a house on the market with us in their price range. In a 10-mile radius, they've got 12 houses that are competing with them. And we look at those to see what sort of uh, uh, quality they're up against, and also the type of properties and the type of buyers that will be interested in those properties. So let's assume you've done all of those great things to your house to make it look as good as you can to get the best price possible in the time scale that you need. A few things that you also need to focus on. Firstly, legals. Now, I would say that 90% of sellers do not engage with a solicitor until they've agreed a sale. I'd say as high as 90%. And it's probably the number one thing behind mortgages that can delay a sale. So, when you're thinking of selling, engage a solicitor before you go onto the market. Now, you know, you need to choose a good local solicitor. Your appointed agent or the agents that you're going to be seeing during this process, ask them for recommendations. And then when you've chosen your solicitor, go and see that solicitor or over the phone, as we would need to right now, and ask them to draft your contract. And in particular, just make sure there's no hidden nasties with title, easements, all that stuff. And then think about the things in your property that could be potential issues: planning permissions, boundary lines, disputes with neighbours, things like that you could do something about now to package all your conveyance ready to send to a likely buyer. Therefore, if these things crop up during the conveyance, firstly, they're not going to delay things. Secondly, it means that you can it's not going to delay things, and it also means that you're being transparent to the buyer when they receive them, and I think that's really important. So you've instructed your solicitor, you've got your house ready to market, and then the biggie for me is choosing your route to market. Now, if you're looking to appoint someone, I mean, you've got three options, haven't you? And this is another video that we will do that we enjoy doing together. And that's how you could sell your property. So you could sell it yourself. You can choose a traditional or a online, offline agent, or you could choose an online only agent. And we could talk about that again on another video, because I'd love to just say a few things about that and answer a few questions you might have. Now, let's just assume for the sake of today that you're going to choose an agent, which is what the majority of people will want to do at the moment, particularly with challenging market conditions. How do you choose an agent? Firstly, get 3 valuations at least. I wouldn't get any more. They'll probably bore you senseless. But also, get 3 vals will give you a good indication on value. And we'll talk about pricing a little bit later. So I would always choose the agents that are active in your local market, that appear to deal with properties like yours, and also really gauge when you phone them to get an MA, get an evaluation booked in. It's really important to get an understanding of how they handle that booking. If they can't come and see you until a week's time, or at the moment doing virtual valuations is the name of the game. If they're not flexible and not really great to deal with, then you have to question whether they're going to be the right people to help sell your home. And once you've done the beauty parade of agents, and they've come around, we call it the beauty parade when we're up competing with fellow agents in any particular location. Don't just base your decision on who to instruct based on lowest fee, highest price, which is what we're all tempted to do when we're choosing an agent to sell a property. Choose the agent you want to work with. Now, you think about it, you're probably going to be dealing with that agent for this specific transaction at least 6 months, and it's a relationship that might go on for years. We've got customers and clients who have been with us for years, and it's because we build up a really lovely relationship. And I think it's really important that you choose an agent that you want to have that type of relationship with. It's not about just choosing an agent because all agents are the same, because they're not. And the most important element that I think is really important is what skills do they have to see a deal through. So the most important part about any sale is not the bit about finding a buyer, it's the bit that happens post sale agreed. So the bit between sale agreed and exchange. Now, if you're engaging with a very experienced agent, they're going to hold your hand through that process, and they're going to act in your best interest to get that deal through in the timescale you want for the best price possible. And you're not going to get that from every agent. So you need to choose carefully. And you need to choose an agent who can work proactively. One of the red flags to listen out to on valuations, and I've heard it done by countless agents, and I get frustrated as a fellow agent when I hear this, is when you hear agents say, "Well, we'll put it on the portals, and we'll see what happens." Well, no, agents don't do that. Good agents do not just rely on portals. They do the proactive work to find the best buyers at the best price for you. So a few other key things you can ask when you're trying to find and choose an agent. Who's going to be dealing with the property on a day-to-day basis? So the guy sitting in front of you, is he going to be your main point of contact? If not, you've got to question whether you really want to be dealing with them if your relationship is being built with the guy in front of you. And what would their marketing plan be? I'm going to come on to that, and I'm going to go through a few really key points to talk about a marketing plan. Their advice on the changes that might need to be done to your house. So you've made some improvements, you've done the decluttering, you've done potentially some decorating, but there might be things that you've missed that they can look at as a professional and somebody who deals with properties every day. And always think, if they were my agent, are they capable of negotiating the best price and seeing the deal through to completion? That's the big thing. And finally, and this brings me on to pricing, make sure when you are having that pricing discussion with an agent that you ask them to explain their comparables and how they've come to a price, and challenge them. It's not good enough just to think that they've come up with a figure and they're not going to tell you how they've come up with that figure. Most agents, and I certainly do when I'm valuing, is I probably take a good hour to hour and a half of research in the local area. Even though I'm experienced in that local area, I still do that research to make sure that when I walk through that door on the valuation, I am primed with everything that could be applicable to that specific property. And that's what you need to make sure your agent has done. If they've not done that, then what care and attention are they going to make to the marketing of your property? And so we come on to pricing. And don't forget that opinions to value are simply that. Don't tell each agent what the other agent has said. Let them come up with their own figure. But pricing is not an exact science, and it is also not proven until that property is sold. So, we often hear, if we've lost an instruction where an owner has said, such and such has offered us 500,000 and you said 400,000. Now, come on, that's not an offer. It's an opinion to value. And don't rely on these lovely online valuation tools. They're a lovely guide, but they are simply that. They're working on algorithms. And I would always put my money on an experienced agent sitting in front of you, having evaluated your property and understanding the local market, coming up with a more accurate assessment to value. And once you've chosen your agent, and critically this way round, once you've chosen your agent, then you should discuss the pricing plan. So there are 3 prices for every property that an agent should be thinking about. There's either a forced sale, so that's where you need to sell quick for whatever reason that might be. There's the open market value, which is the midpoint. It's the price that you would expect the property to achieve after a period of marketing. And then there's the speculative price. That's where you add a percentage onto what potentially could be the true market value, because there's some specialist value with it, or scarcity of that particular type of property might drive a price that would be above what the comparables would necessarily suggest. I don't think that latter option is going to be around for some time at the moment, given the economic and market conditions we're going to be in. Hi, Stephen. Good afternoon. And the cliche that the property is only worth what somebody's willing to pay, I've mentioned before, is a valid one. Until somebody offers something, you don't know what that value is. So, don't you often hear that the value, people see the value being the asking price? Well, that's not really the case. So then we come on to the marketing strategy that you need to have to sell your house. Now, I'm going to come on to a few things that, as a seller, you can be thinking about and discussing with your agent regarding COVID and the market we're going to be in for the back end of this year. But things you need to be thinking about now. You've done all your work, you've got your legals together, you've chosen your agent. Now, do you discreet launch? So are you going to do a soft launch? That could be preferable right now. Agents have still got some great buyers on their books who are virtually viewing and are prepared to be quite active because they're sitting at home and can devote more time to the house search. Or do you wait to go a bang full on marketing, hit online, offline, all in a coordinated week? Again, that's a really good strategy. We've got 2 or 3 that we've got primed, ready to go, where we could well be doing some virtual viewings to selected buyers, but the big bang will happen when we've got an understanding when the lockdown conditions are going to be eased. Think about photography, massively important. If you are looking to launch during this lockdown period, you're going to have to probably deal with photographs that you've taken yourself or you've got some on file, and with the virtual viewings videos that a lot of our clients are doing at the moment. But get the best photography you can. And I would rather wait for the best photography than go to market with substandard quality photography. And think about drone photography, fantastic stuff that a lot of our colleagues in the industry have been using really well recently. I've seen some great ones. And things we've been using a lot during this lockdown has been videos, virtual tours. We've done FaceTimes and Zooms for some clients with vacant properties. That's worked really well. But videos are massively important. And again, I would recommend you have one done for your property. So assuming you're doing the full launch, also think about making sure, hi Russell, good to have you on board. Make sure that all your staff do a lookie. So I call it a lookie, it's probably a stupid expression, but I make sure that anybody's going to be handling that a property that we're marketing, every member of the team in our office has seen it, so they've got that personal experience of what they're selling, and that's really key. And we've got one that we're launching soon that we will definitely wait to be able to get all our staff to go and look at it before we launch. Massively important. And think about the online offline strategy your agent will be adopting. So when I say online offline, online is the digital stuff, portals and your Facebook ads and all of that stuff, but it's also the offline physical marketing that your agent proposes to do and what schedule they've got in place to go through with you. So assuming you've got that full launch, what should you expect in the first week of marketing? Well, firstly, your agent should get round. Hi, Stubbsy. Good to have you on board, chap. Your agent should get the best buyers round in the first 10 days of marketing. And that should happen. So that could be a flurry. It should be at least 6 or 7 immediately. Now, just remember, on average, in the home counties where I'm based, it takes 15 viewings to affect a sale. Now, let's just ignore the lockdown that we're currently all enjoying. in normal market conditions, it would be 15 viewings to one deal. Oh, hi JCH, good to have you on board. So you need to be thinking about that as a seller, that you need 15 viewings to get a deal on average. So you need to be very focused on how many people your agent's getting around. And if you're not getting that many viewings, or you're uncomfortable with some of the feedback, speak to your agent and get some honest and measured feedback from him about what he would recommend. If you've chosen a good agent who is willing to talk these things through openly and candidly, it's a partnership to make sure that you find the right buyer. And the critical bit that we get with a lot of really good prime stock is that in that first 10-day period, that 14-day period, when it's exposed to the dancers on the dance floor of the best buyers, you can often get some early bids. And typically a lot of owners will go, "Oh, we've only been marketing for a week." Be careful with that and don't be greedy, because often the best buyers will be the ones that are through the door in the first couple of weeks. And, obviously, if there's more than one in there, then, we can do sealed bids. You can do all sorts of things to ensure that you get the best price. But don't go and be too bullish, particularly in the market we're about to enter, when things start to return to a sense of normality, whatever that might be. Just be very conscious that if the price is close to what you're hoping to achieve, you should take it seriously. And that brings me on, really. I've tried to give myself a good 10 minutes to cover off talking about the market right now. And what I've been talking to a number of people about the COVID effects. So what have we got in the market? What's going to happen in the market now? I mean, none of us really know, but what we do know is the impact of what's happened in the last 3 to 4 weeks has been on the property market. And I thought I'd illustrate that by just talking through some numbers. In the Maidenhead area, where we've got our main office, SL6 RG10 postcodes, from the period of the 23rd of March to the 16th of April, last year there were 64 sales agreed, according to Rightmove. This year that number was 10, and 8 of those were agreed between the 23rd of March and the 29th of March, so that first week of lockdown. So that clearly illustrates the drop-off of sales agreed. Now, a lot of people go, "Oh my God, that's dreadful." Well, it's only understandable because of that. And I think I felt like this the first couple of weeks. Everybody was in shock. Actually, now people are starting to adjust to ways of operating and living. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see a build up now to when the lockdown's going to be eased, in terms of positive interest. So what that tells me as well is, if we assume that if the market had been in normal market conditions, the number of sales in the Maidenhead area, if we use this as a continued example, would probably be about 75 to 80, given the uplift compared to last year that we were enjoying in the first part of this year. That would mean that we've still got 60 odd buyers kicking about that haven't bought anything yet. And those buyers will be in the market and perceived market once the lockdown is eased. So there's every likelihood that this build-up of demand will create a honeymoon period once the lockdown is eased sometime. I think the advice we're getting is that it's going to be sometime in mid-May. So as a seller, you can take advantage of that if you're preparing to sell now, and get yourself ready to be on the market, ready for that critical month to 2 months after lockdown, because I think it's going to be pretty busy, and we're going to have a delayed spring. And I'm quite excited by that. I think it's going to be a really great market. We're already gearing ourselves up for that as an agent in terms of looking at holiday rotas over the summer and changing that quite dramatically, because we think that's going to be pretty busy. Now, having said that, we've got to be very mindful of the backdrop of the economy, probably for the rest of this year and well into next year, because of the cost of the COVID outbreak is going to be pretty profound on our economy. Therefore, our buyers are going to have less money to spend. They're either going to have lower salaries, they're going to be more cautious with what they're spending, they're not going to take a punt on what they're paying for things. There might be more restrictions on what people can borrow. So this isn't necessarily going to mean a massive drop of pricing. What it's going to mean is that you're just going to have to show very good value for money, and you can't have your property on the market at a speculative number. So, we had one pre-lockdown where we valued a property at 500. The client wanted to go on the market at 600. That's a 20% uplift. Now, in some spring markets, you could potentially say, okay, we'll do that for 2 to 3 weeks if the circumstances are right. But going into post-lockdown, can't do that. You've got to be bang on the price and make sure that you get the price absolutely spot on for your local market. And there is a tendency for people when there's uncertainty out there, and we've had a lot of uncertainty with Brexit. God, do you remember that? And all the stuff that we've had over the last 10 years, really. Uncertainty normally fuels a drop down in transactional levels. And people always think, well, we'll wait. And I always challenge that. What are you waiting for? Right now, if you're buying or selling, you know lots of the ingredients you need to make the recipe to move. You're going to know the price that you can sell for. You can borrow money at as cheap as chips at the moment. And when you get out there, there's going to be people that are really wanting to sell. Now, there might be a lot of downsizing going on as a consequence of this lockdown. We've had a lot of what I would call price-sensitive discussions with clients over the last few weeks. Sadly, we've also it's a big part of our business. Sadly, we've also been advising on a lot of probate deals. So the market composition is going to be different. That's what I would say. The lending environment's going to be different. People will have less money but still want to move. They just won't spend as much. So maybe somebody who was planning to spend at 750 will buy at 500, and maybe somebody who's going to spend $1 million will be spending 750. All of these things will come into play, but it's not just the people that have been furloughed that hopefully will be going back to work over the next couple of months. You've also got those that have continued to work who've had reductions in salaries, and it's a question whether those salaries will return to their 100% level, and therefore it's going to impact their ability to borrow money. So use this time as a seller to get your property ready for market. Be confident about selling in this environment. I think we're going to have the property market's going to be pretty busy from June through to September with stuff that we would have normally been transacting in April, May. And be ready to come to the market and take advantage of that renewed activity. So I hope you get some nuggets out of this session. And we will be doing, as I mentioned, we will be doing more of these Facebook Live events as PSK, and I'll be also involved with Agents Here to Help, which is a great community of agents and letting agents across the UK who are all giving their expertise and advice free to people to be able to watch these videos online. And I think it's massively important that we cover some of these subjects and communicate a lot with all of you so that you can hopefully make some good decisions over the coming weeks and months. I'm just going to check if I've had any questions that I haven't covered. No, I think I've covered all of those today. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Look forward to speaking to you all soon. Great to see all of you guys, and thanks for your time.